Estate right along episode 14.
Wow. That equals 5 if you add the 1 to the 4.
And does that mean something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Fun fact.
I'm really glad that my
More
dear friend
advice.
and lender can do simple math of 5 plus 1.
Thank you.
Thank you for your insight.
Yeah, welcome everybody.
This is Mitchell Stelling of Revest Loans.
Wow. And this is Shemeika Fox with Fox Realty Group.
Thank you.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
And we've made it yet again.
Yep.
So how's the market been for you?
Market has been interesting. I feel like I'll do a quick recap. Like around 4th of July, a lot of people were traveling. I did see and I did talk to some other agents like yourself. Well, number one, you. And they felt kind of a little bit of a lull during that time. And then we saw rates.
That's cyclical though. That's always.
Exactly. I mean, people are like traveling, but then we saw like a really positive rebound because rates did come down. And in the last few weeks, personally, I have seen it pretty busy.
Good.
So, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, the real estate roller coaster, we like to call it.
Yeah.
It's up and down.
The real estate.
What about you? What's your thoughts?
My booster seat is bothering me.
Oh man, we have to get you a harness.
What are my thoughts? My thoughts are that there are a lot of moving pieces. So besides maintaining current transactions and making sure that our client experience is seamless, we are going through a heavy influx of education because our documents are all changing. August 17th, and if you haven't watched it, you can watch my video from last week that talks about what you should expect with these new documents. But as of the 24th, tomorrow, July 24th, our new buyer broker compensation agreement is coming out and must be signed before buyers go and look at properties starting August 17th. We'll do a deeper dive into that once that comes out so that you guys are educated on that. But like that plus insurance, which has been a bit tricky to get
100%.
and secure.
Yep.
I even had a client who had an insurance policy with their current policy holder. And right before closing, 2 weeks before closing, he called and said, I can't do the policy anymore. So we had to scramble, find somebody else who could. And we were able to get them a policy, but it's everything feels like a little
it's an extra step,
more stressful
almost,
and a lot more moving pieces that you just have to make sure you are completely in tune with all of the details because the details matter.
Totally. And I think that goes into having a professional, for example, like yourself, your experience, you know what's going on. There's so many moving parts now. And I've seen this on my part, you know, as the lender side of it. And things can fall apart so quickly. So having the proper connections, almost having a fallback professional in a sense that that agent can't do it, you have someone else.
To step right in.
And that's also quick.
I
also want to ask you a question, which is I don't know if it's like a myth question, but so let's say you had someone sign a buyer broker agreement. I'm your client. Hi, Shemeika. I want to buy a house, and you have me sign the deal. Take it easy on me. And then we hit August 17th. We have to sign a new one at that point, right? How does that, do you know?
So from what I understand, and it could change again.
Things change.
Like what I understand, the new buyer broker agreements are drafted and will be available through the California Association of Realtors as of tomorrow, July 24th. Or I guess when this comes out, it'll be today, but July 24th. They'll just say July 24th. So from what I understand, that new buyer broker compensation agreement will be the buyer broker compensation agreement that will carry us through past August 17th. So you won't have to re-sign one. But I did have a client that was ready to come in and sign, and I don't have access to the new one yet. And so I suggested that we meet on or after the 24th so that we could just do one.
That's perfect. One and done. And after that date, it's just going to be pretty much smooth sailing. You have that conversation with your client and come to your agreement and they sign it, you're good to go.
I think that's correct.
Wonderful. I'm following. I kind of know what I do. The other thing I wanted to bring up, it kind of goes into your topic of so many moving parts and transactions. So you brought up 2 good points, and I'm going to add one additional. Insurance, definitely having someone that can perform quickly. I've had an experience recently. I'm going to give a shout out. I don't know if that's allowed, but the Tedson boys, in regards to fair plan specifically, have been able to move quicker than any other rep. We have seen. This is per Chaz, who's the brains behind this operation here. And so that's been great. Oh yeah, my operation. Yeah, not hers. And so that's been great. So just anyone out there, this may be geared towards clients, agents, they're a great local spot to check out.
Yes. Tanner and Chase Kedson and I actually have a video with Tanner. If
Oh
you
yeah,
want to check
I saw that.
out.
Perfect. I'm glad I brought that up. So,
I'll loop it in. I'll reel it in. I think I can do
Tanner
like
and Chase. We expect a little, your video, Mitchell and Shemeika. And then going into, this is again kind of following Fair Plan and these mountain properties. I'm actually working on something currently where it's so important to get the septic checked out as you're going into contract, before you're in contract, if you can. I know there's a cost.
If you're a seller, like my sellers, I recommend anybody who's on septic before we even hit the market
100%.
to have the septic pumped and inspected for the point of sale ordinance, which was applied to our real estate ordinances July 2023. So last year. But before, if you're a seller, have your septic inspected for the point of sale ordinance compliance before you even hit the active market or are available to show. Because if you have a contract with the buyer and all of a sudden you have your septic inspected and it fails, you could actually be in, depending on how you negotiate, in a situation where you're going to be out of pocket like $100,000. Not to say that you would be alleviated by having the inspection prior to going into contract from a buyer, but you'll have more information so you can make a better decision versus just
forced in a sense, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And that on the contract, what areas?
Yeah. So Q5 and Q6, and what the exact verbiage is for Q5 and Q6, and this is the purchase agreement, says government required point of sale inspections and reports. That's Q5, to be provided by, and it can be buyer or seller or both. And then Q6 is government required point of sale corrective remedial action, and again, can be buyer or seller or both. So the first one, the required point of sale inspections or reports, would be hire a septic company to come and, oh, my nose tickled. Hire a septic company to come and pump your septic and to do the water flow test to make sure that your leach field is absorbing or saturating the appropriate amount of water per minute. I think it's something like that. And then if it does not pass and you are already in contract with Q6, which says the government required point of sale corrective remedial actions, would be the seller's responsibility. If that is the way that that document has been negotiated, then you as the seller would be required to either replace your septic tank or to repair the replace your septic system. So that's inclusive of the leach field lines as well, or repair it so that it actually works. So replace, repair. And in some instances, you're going to be forced to use one of the new enhanced engineered systems. And those can run you around $80,000, sometimes more, sometimes less. So this is a big chunk of change.
Yeah, be educated.
You might have to pay it anyways, but know that information before you're negotiating with a buyer so that it does not come and bite you in the butt.
Totally. Because essentially they could be in contract, and if it's noted that the seller is going to pay for this,
and then all of a sudden we get a failed system, and you will have to pay for it.
Exactly. If the buyer wants to proceed with purchasing the home.
Yes.
So that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So very important information.
And how does that affect a loan? Let's say that the seller did not provide a septic inspection prior to a purchase agreement. And then you're in contract and you get a septic inspection and the septic failed.
Yeah. So
how does that affect the loan?
You cannot obtain conventional financing at that point. So this was actually, I'm glad you brought this up. I had this like 3 or 4 months ago where we were going to have the world's longest escrow. Probably not the longest, but it was going to be like 90 plus
you
days.
weren't here during short sales.
Yeah.
Those were
shoot, I missed it. Man, missed it.
You're probably still
I'm like, what's a short sale?
Yeah.
It's
were
a short.
you even born?
I was around, probably in 8th grade. This is like financial crisis time. And so going back to that in regard, hold on, what were we talking about?
What happens if you go into contract without a septic inspection and the septic inspection happens during contract and it fails?
Yes. So if
That's
it fails,
my nose
realistically,
is like driving me crazy
it's
today.
okay.
Sorry.
Well, I'm all over the place, AB. I'm like, well, are we talking about septics? So realistically, we would need to negotiate with the sellers and come to some solution where my view of this and how I advise my clients, of course, following the buyer's agent, is having the seller repair that before closing, because we can't complete the appraisal and everything that needs to be done to close that loan.
You can't do a holdback.
If there's let's say the sellers of the property put money in an escrow account and we're like, hey, you guys after close can pay for it on your own. We can't finance something with a failed septic.
You cannot.
We cannot.
With conventional financing.
Now we could go different methods of what we call non-QM. I'm not going to open that bucket of worms. And that's where
I think it's called a can.
A can or a bucket?
A can of worms.
A bucket of worms. Well, it's a bucket. Septics are insane. And financing is really expensive. A lot of times going that route, but there's ways to work through it, or hard money financing. But most people, I mean, there's a lot of costs that's associated with working around. So that, again, for any of my clients and all the agents like Shemeika, who I work with, do this due diligence for their clients going into it. So there's no surprises. I mean, This is the last thing that you would want. So,
as a seller or a buyer.
No, totally. It's just unneeded stress, and it can be avoided if the proper things are done on the front end.
Correct.
So that's my view of it. What's your thoughts on, we're in July. What's like the next 3 months? What do you think the market's going to do? Just a fun little, this wasn't even planned, you guys, putting her on the spot.
Well, I mean, I think that politics always affect our real estate market in terms of rates and in terms of volatility and in terms of the stock market as well. And I would say that there's a little bit of turmoil going on with our current political situation. And I think that we're going to see actually a little bit of softening in the market. I think that we're going to see sellers who have to sell be a little bit more flexible. I think those buyers who are willing to take advantage of a fearful time in the market will come out ahead.
I think so.
And I've seen that before. I have clients that bought when 2008, 2009 hit, and it was really scary, right? Nobody was buying homes then except for like crazy people. And
look at them now. I know.
Yeah. Look at them now.
Totally. And I don't think we're going to have, and you'll agree with me on this, house prices coming down like they did in 08 because of the supply and demand. But I think, like, in regards, perfect example, Shemeika and I were talking about this just a moment ago about interest rates, like a potential rate cut. We don't know. We're thinking we might get one in September, but realistically, I'm personally advising my clients, I want them to find a home that they love. It's not just buy whatever's out there. But if they can find it, do it before this potential rate cut, because that is going to bring more competition. When rates come down, more people can afford it. And I think that's going to slightly drive up. I personally
lost probably about 25% of my buyers when the rates increased above 5%. Right. And then again, when they went above 6%, because our market did not see a depreciation or a decrease in sales prices. It was just an appreciation in interest rates, which makes something that was affordable at 5%, unaffordable at 6%, unless you put more money in, if you're able to.
Exactly. And my thought is too, I mean, yes, we need more inventory, but I think it's when there's more competition and not as much inventory that drives the price of anything up.
Yeah. And I think we are actually seeing more inventory. I know.
I do too. I agree.
We are seeing more inventory. And if you're willing to be a little bit flexible with your requirements when you're shopping for a home, I think you can actually get some really good deals right now. Things are sitting on the market for a little bit longer than they had been in the past. We're above 400 units currently for sale in all of Santa Cruz County. And I know that doesn't sound like a ton, but it's
an influx.
It's an influx. And it's an influx. And just to put it in perspective, in January, there was less than 100 units for sale.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So
what do you think? I know we're kind of like spitballing here. What do you think has brought more inventory on? People are just more comfortable. They kind of accepted the market that we're in. I mean, I know it's
I think it's a combination. One, cyclical, right?
Yeah.
This, like, generally speaking, spring and summer is when you start to see more inventory.
A reoccurring factor that we always see.
I think that it always takes about a month or 2 months for both buyers and seller to get comfortable with whatever variation or change has happened in the market. So it can be a rate increase, it can be less inventory, more inventory, just about a month or 2 months to actually be like, okay, this is what it is. Let's proceed with our life. You know, like you can't not, I hate double negatives.
Yeah.
People have to,
people
have to sell their homes
Yeah.
for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Job relocations,
right.
divorce, death, marriage, babies, all the things, right? So at some point you have to sell your home, and if you pause out of fear or to watch the market to see what it does, eventually you're going to become acclimated or comfortable with whatever variable has just recently changed, and you'll be ready to proceed.
Totally. Very well said.
Oh, good. Okay, well then let's call that.
All right. Well, that was some good information. That was good.
If you have questions on the septic ordinance, and also we do have a sewer ordinance, we didn't get into that, but rural property septic ordinance, if you would like a recommendation on who to call to get an inspection prior to putting your home on the market, please feel free to reach out to us. If you want to discuss the current market interest rates, where we think they're going and how they will affect you in your future and your real estate plans, please call us. And if you just want to chat with us and hang out with us,
we're pretty
call
fun.
us too.
Yeah. Most of our clients turn into friends.
I know. It's really fun. Thanks for tuning in to Real Estate Right Along, episode number 14. I'm Shemeika Fox, your Santa Cruz Real Estate expert, and this is my dear friend Mitchell Stelling, Revest Loans, and we cannot wait to connect with you.
We'll see you on 15.